The other night when we shared in the Sabbath service on Friday evening at Temple Israel, our faith in the city congregations came together for one Martin Luther King Jr. service on Friday night. It was both a typical Friday evening Sabbath service, Shabbat service at the temple, as well as to honor Dr. King. There were a couple of gospel choirs there, young people that sang beautifully. Various clergy from our churches and other participants in the service. It was really a lovely evening. And at the end of the service, at the end of the Sabbath service, at the temple, they did what they do every week. At the end of the service, they blessed the wine. They had the wine carried out. This last week, it was by a young man, probably in his 30s. He was about to have a birthday, so they had invited him to share in the blessing. So he took the cup, and all the congregation gathered around holding hands, and he sang the song in Hebrew. I just nodded and smiled like this during the song, sung beautifully, to bless the wine, which would then lead them into the reception that they had so nicely for all of us there that evening. And there was much joy and celebration in that. So where do we find meaning in this story? Is it in the wedding? Is it in the party? Is it in the wine? I guess we can try all three of them and see. It's actually not in any of those things. The first sign of Jesus happened at a wedding in Cana, with water being turned into wine. But the importance for us in the story is just that. The sign. This story points to something larger. And that's what the Gospel of John over and over again, it makes us think. The Gospel of John really makes us think. And we have to see what's pointed to by the signs that were shown. Just like any good sign, really. Think about the signs in your life that you see on a regular basis. When you come to a stop sign is metal, it's a certain shape, and it's the color red. But when you come to a stop sign, you're not thinking about the shape or the metal or even perhaps the color. What are you thinking about? Stopping. Because that sign points to something beyond itself, to a greater meaning that tells you to stop. When you're driving and from behind in your rearview mirror you can see a blue light shining and noise, are you focused on the color of the light? Are you focused on exactly the sound that you're hearing? No. What's the meaning behind that? Get over. Get over quick. That's right. There's a larger meaning to the sign that says, you're in trouble, buddy. Get off the road. All signs tend to lead to something else. And so it is with this sign of Jesus. What does it mean? Back to our stone jars. We've got stone jars, we're told, water jars, that there are 6 of them, and they hold 20 to 30 gallons of water each. This doesn't have to be a math lesson, but why not? It's a long weekend for the kids, so let's let them use their brains. All right, who got there? 6 jars, 30 gallons of water each. How many gallons? What, 180? You get the prize, Esmond. Very good. 180 gallons of water. That's a lot. That's a lot. Now, we're told that about a cup of water was enough to purify 100 people. Okay, so let's say it was a big wedding. And let's say there were 500 people there. So again, 1 cup of water. It's like we're practicing for the FCAT. 1 cup of water is enough to purify 100 people. So if we have 500 people, how many cups of water will we need? 5. Very good. You're ready, students. 5 cups of water. This pitcher here probably holds a quart. Not far from 5 cups. But it says we have 180 gallons of water turned into wine, good wine, saved till the last. purify a village, a whole country maybe, perhaps the whole world. 180 gallons of water. Jesus takes the symbol, that ritual of purification, and becomes that for the people. It's not just enough water to purify a few, or even just those in attendance at that wedding banquet, or all the Jews even. But as we will learn later, the whole world. Enough water, purified water, the grace of Jesus Christ for each of us and all of us. Jesus inserts himself into that ritual. He is now the living water, given freely to all people. Well, what is it that we need this purifying water for? On Friday evening, as we gathered in the Shabbat service at the temple, Dr. Marvin Dunn spoke. Has anyone had a chance to run into Dr. Dunn over the years in Miami? He's a former psychology professor at FIU, did some really innovative work. He's been a big part of the community garden that's now in Overtown, as you can see from the main road there, very beautiful. So in Miami, he was born and raised here. And he told a story when he spoke on Friday night. He said at 16 years old in 1956, he was admitted to Morehouse College. And in 1957, at 17, he left to go there. Dr. King would have left Morehouse in 1951, he said, just a few years earlier. And he said every once in a while, this young preacher named Martin King would come speak to them in chapel. Now, he claims they used to fall asleep when he would preach to them, but maybe that's just how the story goes after all these years. But Dr. Dunn said when he was 17, his mother and his grandmother came and put him on a bus to go north to Atlanta to college. They put him on the back seat of the bus with 2 bologna sandwiches, a Coca-Cola, and peanuts. And they said, do not leave this seat until you get to Atlanta. And they left him on the bus. Well, he said he got to Fort Lauderdale and he didn't like that seat anymore. So he got up and he moved to about the middle of the bus. And he rode the rest of the way up north, Florida. And then they crossed the state line in Georgia. And after they crossed the state line, it became morning, and the bus became a school bus that picked up children to go to school. So the bus began to fill up in the morning with white children going to a white school. And they filled up all the seats in the front, and then one came and sat down right next to him. And he said immediately the other children began to say things I wouldn't say here for you today, to tell him to get to the back of the bus. Well, quickly, an older man, an older white gentleman, a Marine, came to defend him. So he came to the middle of the bus, trying to calm the children down and get everybody settled for this bus ride. Well, more tension began, and eventually the bus driver came back and said, right to Dr. Dunn, you are causing a disturbance. Now, I don't need you on this bus. So he left him on the side of the road in a little community in Georgia to find his way to college.